everybody. Welcome to the Facebook Live behind the scenes of the Yarn Thing podcast with Marley Bird. I am Marley Bird, your host, but you know that if you're here on the Marley Bird Facebook page, you obviously are probably putting the two and two together. If you are watching me over on YouTube, welcome! This is new. I just recently started downloading the videos from Facebook Live and putting them up on YouTube, hoping that you guys would be able to see what a podcast is and kind of the behind the scenes of what it takes to put one together. Today's guest is a good friend of mine, Amy Herzog. She is going to be talking to us about her brand new book, You Can Knit That. And she is a prolific sweater knitter. She's amazing. She's talented. And I can't wait for you guys to get to know her a little bit better. So she is on the line. She's on hold, waiting for the podcast to go live, which goes in about 1 minute. So what you're watching is literally the behind the scenes. I have a big old microphone right here that I use. It's connected.
1 minute until showtime.
It's connected to my computer, and then my computer is connected to Blog Talk Radio, which is the host of my my podcast. So that's how this whole thing kind of connects together. So those of you who have been wondering, what the heck is a podcast? What does she mean behind the scenes? This is all it is. You get to watch me interview the guest. So hopefully the sound is okay. I've purchased a new microphone to better pick up my voice and to hopefully pick up the guest voice, which is coming through the computer. If for some reason, Amy, this is for you. If for some reason I get disconnected, I do have my phone next to me, so I will call back in. You do not hang up. I'll make Tammy able to take over the show until I can get called back in, just in case.
Sounds good.
Perfect. So we should be ready to go here in 20 seconds. Everybody gone pee? That's why usually I'm like, have I gone to the bathroom? Because an hour is a long time to wait.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds.
All right, here we go.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Yarn Thing podcast with Marley Bird. I'm your host, Marley Bird. You can catch the Yarn Thing podcast live every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. That's 12 o'clock on the East Coast, 9 o'clock on the West Coast, and 11 o'clock in the Midwest. If you are anywhere else in the world and would like to join us live for the podcast, please Google what time 10 o'clock Mountain Time is for you. I do live in Denver, Colorado, and you can come and join the fun. There is a live chat that happens on blogtalkradio.com/Marley Bird, or you could participate in the Facebook page. On the Facebook page, it's facebook.com/Marley Bird, and there is a Facebook live video that happens there. Or maybe you're watching the show after the fact and you can watch us over on YouTube on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. Do you sense a theme there? I was told that when you do branding, you should name everything the same. So it's all Marley Bird all the time. So when in doubt, Marley Bird. Sorry. I just felt like I was saying my name all the time. Okay. So the Yarn Thing podcast is brought to you by Green Mountain Spinnery, Buffalo Wool Company, Creative Bug, where I have my brand new knitted cocoon cardigan, which is going like gangbusters. You guys love it. It's fantastic. It uses Red Heart soft yarn and it's super affordable. And don't forget, there is a deal going on with Red Heart and Creative Bug. So go check that out. Erin Lane Bags, Lolo by Barmaids, Craftsy.com, Knitters Magazine, XRX Books and Stitches Expos, and last but certainly not least, Red Heart Yarns, where I'm the proud national spokesperson. You can find out more about our sponsors over on the Marley Bird website, so just go to marleybird.com, click on sponsors on the drop-down menu, and you can find it directly to each one of my sponsors. Oh my gosh, today's guest is a good friend of mine, you guys, and I have been a fan of Amy's literally since I started knitting. She is one of the first designers that actually went out there and really taught me that I could knit to fit me. No matter what size I am, you just tweak things, you make things fit, and you can make things fit you. And sweater knitting especially. She is amazingly talented, wickedly smart, super generous, always beautiful. In every picture I've ever seen of her, she is gorgeous. I'm serious, Amy, I swear, every picture. And honestly, I'm so honored to be able to call Amy Herzog my friend, and I'm thrilled to have her on the show to talk about her brand new book. But not only that, I want her to tell you guys a little bit about her, so in case it's the first time you've ever really gotten a chance to get to know her, now is the time. So Amy, thanks for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Marley. The admiration is completely mutual.
Oh, well, I absolutely adore you. You know that. So welcome. I know that how was Halloween last night with the kids? Pretty good?
Oh, it was so great. Yes, thank you. We had a lot of fun.
That's awesome. This is the first year that my kids decided they didn't want to go trick or treating. They said, "Mom, can we just go get a bag of candy that we like?" So each of them got their own bag of candy, and we stayed home and they watched Beetlejuice for the very first time. So it was.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I know. And so all night long we're like, shake, 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 senora. I mean, it was so much fun.
I love that movie.
I know.
Yeah, I think I have a couple more years before they're there.
Yes.
They're still excited about dressing up.
Yeah, no, mine were freaking out about clowns. How, as ridiculous as that is, they were like, there's going to be clowns out there, Mom. I don't want to go. I'm like, all right, whatever. I mean, that's easier on me. That's fine. So anyways.
The clown thing is rough this year.
The clown thing is rough. So let's talk about your knitting. I know you just went to, it was Rhinebeck, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And how would that go?
Well, oh, I love it. It's my favorite festival of the year. It's I spent a few years just sort of teaching and signing and working all the time, and these past couple of years I've been lucky enough to go more as an attendee. Uh-huh. And it's such a treat. You know, when you're in this field and we spend all of our time going, you know, to these shows on weekends, it's a lovely thing, but it's a different experience than when you're going just for yourself. And
Absolutely.
So Rhinebeck is my time to go for myself, and I really, really enjoy it.
Oh, that's so great. Well, let's tell people about you, because you are a professional knitwear designer and you've been doing it for a while now, but let's take people back to the beginning. How did you get started in knitting, and especially sweater knitting? Because that is your arena. That is your niche. You are so good at it.
Thank you. You mean knitting in general, though, too, right?
Yes, I do.
So I have been knitting since I don't remember a time when I couldn't knit. So it must have been sort of kindergarten-ish or a little before. I was, as anyone who knows me will not be surprised, I was a real handful as a kid. I didn't like to sit still. I didn't like to be quiet. I didn't like to, be in one place for very long. And so the story is that needles helped me sit down.
Got it. You know what? You're not the only person that's the case for. There are so many designers that have been on here that have talked about, I learned because somebody just wanted me just to sit down and relax.
That's right. I'm rubbish at being still. I'm terrible at it, and knitting really helps me chill out.
That's good.
So I've been knitting for a long time, and I think that I knit pretty much everything when I was a kid. It was all, whatever, filtered through a young girl sensibility, so I don't know that I would be super proud of it now, but but I did sweaters and blankets and whatever, hats and mittens and everything. But as an adult, so when I was a teenager, I felt like I was way too cool for that. I didn't knit, I didn't sew, like I gave up all my making hobbies as a teenager, and then I picked them back up again when I was in my early 20s. And I really started knitting sweaters then because I have just a couple of fit challenges that make it more pleasant to make my own clothes rather than try to find them at a store. Mm-hmm. And so I got into making sweaters to fit me then, I would say in my early and mid-20s. And I've pretty much been doing it ever since, so an embarrassing number of years now. You don't really think about that until you try to come up with the time, like 15, 16 years.
That's a lot.
So yeah, and I think after you knit a certain number of sweaters for yourself and you're making fit modifications, the bridge to designing starts seeming a lot less intense and daunting, right? If I've essentially rewritten a pattern from scratch, how much harder would it be to take that idea in my head and then make some numbers to fit it? I have some help in that my technical background is actually in math and computer science, so I'm pretty math nerdy.
Wicked smart, you guys. I'm not even joking. Wicked smart, okay? Oh my gosh. Super smart.
So that's sort of knitting. I was a big Rowan knitter in my 20s. I don't know if you were too, but and all of those, like the sizing range was really small then.
Yeah.
It was often larger than the largest size. So
You know,
figuring out how to size things up and adjust them were a big part. But I loved the magazine. Like, I loved looking through it, and I don't know, I felt like the sweaters were more fashion focused, and I really liked them.
Oh, they're beautiful. They're beautiful. No, in my so I learned to knit 1999. So I was 20, 21. I don't even remember. Or not knit. I learned to crochet, but I made a lot of blankets. I've told this story before, but honestly, so this is kind of funny. I made nothing but blankets because it did not occur to me that I could make anything else. Like, I just made blankets. You know, it was literally right when the internet was kind of really starting up, and you know, I didn't have outside connection of what I was doing. And so it wasn't until one day my roommate's boyfriend or somebody came over 5 inches into it. And the guy goes, "Are you making something for myself as a plus size woman?" 5 inches into it. And the guy goes, "Are you making something for myself as a plus size woman?"
Oh, thank you for saying that.
No,
yeah,
it's
I really
true.
want to help people feel like it's accessible, that it's something that you can do. Because particularly for sweaters that go in more of an apparel direction, like, the stitch patterns aren't that complicated. The actual knitting or crocheting skill isn't the hard part there. I think it is that intimidation factor and the feeling of accessibility.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. So what was your first pattern that you really took on as your own and said, okay, I'm going to design this?
Well, I had a bridge. There was but I loved how it was styled, and I loved the yarn, and Tulip, it was called, by Marie Wallen. It was a beautiful, beautiful garment, but I knew that was not going to be super practical for me. So I took it and I drafted set-in sleeves for it. And that was my first, I would say, what I would qualify as a major modification. That was the first time I was really getting into pattern drafting, you know, tapping on the sewing skills I learned with my grandmother. I had a need for someone to do a design for the sci-fi chapter in that book, and I mean, probably won't be surprised, I'm a huge nerd. And so they were like, "Amy, you have to design a sweater for this chapter." And I was like, "I can't design a sweater. I can't do that. What are you talking about?" They're like, "Math is literally your job every day. You can completely do this." So that was my first design. It was called Apocalypta. And it's like matrixy, super futuristic yarn and drop stitches everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
It was
oh my gosh. So here you are. So you have these great friends, and they are all seriously encouraging you to design. And so when did you start to really find that you were no longer taking patterns and tweaking them to make them fit what you needed, but literally just making your own patterns literally from scratch? I mean, obviously with that first one, but was it right after that you said, you know what, forget this, I'm just going to make my own from here on out?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
Is that awful to say?
No.
I mean, it's, I knit a few more from other people after that point, but I just feel like I had reached a point where I knew exactly what I wanted to knit. There was I didn't need to search for it. I could picture it in my head.
Yeah.
And so once I had gotten over that initial hurdle of feeling like I couldn't do this, I wasn't creative enough or whatever, I sort of just dove in.
I love it. I'm super jealous of your math skills because that's one of, I mean, honestly, like, I have all the ideas, but I really struggle with the math side of it. That's why I pay my tech editors so well, because I'm just like, I know where I want to get there. And I know that if I had all the time in the world, I could get there. But because there are special math people like you who can get there before me, I'm like, I need help. So go ahead. I was going to ask about, you know, how did you start setting up? I mean, I'm guessing you have spreadsheets and just was like, all right, this just makes sense to you. Like, it's the matrix for you.
Yeah, it's so, I think that there's not only, let's see, I think I'm helped by the fact that I don't fear math, you know. I was trained to be pretty comfortable with it. But I think it's also just that I grew up in such a maker-focused family. So it's not just that I can imagine the formulas or work with spreadsheets, but that I saw and helped my grandmother make clothes my whole life. We made my prom dress together, you know. So I have I would not say I've ever been formally trained, but I had a really good intuition, I guess, ground into me from a really early age. Like, this is how clothing fits together. These are the places where it will restrict your movement. These are the places where you have a little more freedom. Here's how knit behaves differently than woven fabric. So I feel like I have a good base of that kind of intuition compared to someone who didn't grow up in such a maker-centric community. Does that make any sense?
No, that totally makes sense. I mean, it makes absolute sense. Can you talk to us a little bit about your, I don't want to use the word obsession because that sometimes has a bad connotation, but you know what I mean? But like the way things fit, and like you have specific classes and full weekends that you go out and you teach people, how to make things to really make them love what they're making, and wear things that, they might not think might not think look good, but you show them how it works. Can you kind of tell us how that kind of came into your repertoire?
Yeah, I think that it was on my mind from the early days of knit blogs, when there were just a few, and I felt like the us knit bloggers had a fairly intimate set of conversations going along. And there were always, like, every 3 months or 6 months or whatever, there would be these threads about whether you're a process knitter or a product knitter,
yes,
and which kind are you. And people would talk about spending hours and hours and hours knitting garments that they knew they weren't going to like, that the point was never to wear them. They just wanted to enjoy the act of knitting. And that's really not who I am. I don't know. My main upbringing was, you had better be useful in your life, by golly. Like, if you're going to do one thing, you should be useful. So I feel like it's been in my knitting culture, I guess, as an adult, that we should be able to make things that we will use. And if you don't want to, then that's great. I'm not trying to tell you not to be a process knitter or anything. But if you want to be a product knitter, I want you to be able to use it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I don't want you to feel stymied.
Absolutely.
So, and I think that there are really two big parts of wanting to wear the garments that you make. They need to fit well. We're experts at wearing clothes. We know when they don't work.
Yeah.
Fit-wise. But then there's also this other big, I felt at the time, unexplored topic where, you'll take 8 things into a dressing room and try them all on, and all of them fit. They're all the right size, but you hate 6 of them, on a good day.
Yes.
Why is that? What's going on visually? And how do you start to think of knitting patterns in that same way and try to guess whether they'll make you happy to look at?
Yeah.
Before you spend all the time.
I love it. I love it. And so here you have this series of books, then you have Knit to Flatter. So that's your first book. Talk to us a little bit about that. I promise we're going to get to the new book. I'm trying to give people like the history of how this came up to the brand new book. So talk to us about Knit to Flatter.
It's all good. So Knit to Flatter was very much that first thing. I felt like fit had been talked about a bunch, that there were resources that people could look for on fit. So I was really a lot more focused at first on, hey, why do you always like V-necks? Why do you like scoop necks? Why do you hate crew necks? Why do you love crew necks? Why is it 3/4 sleeves or nothing? What's going on with our clothing preferences? And so I developed a little way to explain how clothing changes the way we look visually, right? Because clothing is really, if we're the canvas, clothing is the paint. We can make ourselves look pretty much however we want to, shape-wise, by adjusting the visual elements we're putting on ourselves. And that's really what Knit to Flatter was about. So I sort of broke people out into body shape types. So I'm really not one to focus too much on size. I think it's a lot less important for what makes us happy. I think we have an unhealthy obsession with it in this country. So instead of that, I focused more on, okay, what's your paper doll outline and how will clothing interact with that? What might make you happiest?
I love that. I know I told you this before last time you were on the podcast. As a plus size woman, I mean, I've told you this, and it makes me so happy to see plus size models on your book, like I want to say real people, because I mean, small girls are real people too. So I hate using the term real people, but it, as a big girl, it made me feel good to see, other people my size wearing stuff. It's like, oh wow, she's right. I can wear that, sort of thing.
Oh, and they're all beautiful.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
The funny story about the Knit to Flatter models is that they actually were, like, real people is the wrong word, but they were not professionals. They were like, hey, I know, like, my friend Morgan fits this, and we had a lot of fun searching them out.
It's awesome. Yeah, and they're super beautiful. So, I mean, I know I've told you that before, but it really does. It makes me really happy to see that. So here you are, you have Knit to Flatter. It does wildly successful. You have Craftsy classes that do wildly successful. Everybody wants you out there, and you decide, you know what, I'm going around, I'm teaching, I'm doing all this stuff. Why don't I go ahead and put together a retreat? So talk to me a little bit about the retreats, because I think that was the last time you were on. And actually one of my friends who is like, she's like super fangirl of you, and she got into the retreat. Like, it's just crazy. She was like, oh my gosh. But tell us a little bit about the Knitwear Love Retreat.
Oh, yeah, that's fun. If I can give a little more background beyond that. So after I started designing, I was still working full-time.
Yes.
For a while, a couple years, in computer security, which was my field before I did this. And eventually it was just nuts. Like, I was working 2 full-time jobs, and my family pretty much pulled a revolt and said, look, you have to pick one of these 2 full-time jobs, especially since at that time I was starting to write, sweater fitting software. And anyway, it was sort of exploding. So I picked knitting. And at that point, I know you and I have talked about this privately. I feel like all of us in this field need to have a pretty wide range of stuff that we do.
Yes.
So that when it's a slow knitting month, you have something else. When it's a slow teaching month, you have something else. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. You got to have the pieces of the pie, different incomes coming in, and it's all got to fit together. You can't just be one thing.
Yeah, and the retreats definitely started in that kind of way. Like, okay, here's my portfolio of what I'm going to do and how I'm going to feed my family. Well, how do I round this out to make it a little more, a little less season dependent, actually, which was the initial thing, because summer in particular is a really slow time for us. So, but once we had this idea, what would it look like if I pulled together a retreat? I actually got super excited about the thought of really crafting curriculum and inspiration focused on exactly what I wanted to teach and how I wanted people to think about their knitting. That really became the big draw for me, this thought that we could get 100-ish people together who are all interested in being sweater inspired and craft classes and lectures and demos and vendors around, helping them not only relax, that's a big part of what a retreat is about, but really change their knitting game.
Right.
Toward clothing. And we're on our 6th or 7th, I think, now. And I love them. I love that part of the weekend where it's really, I feel super blessed to be able to see people's relationship to their knitting change, to see them get empowered to want to knit clothes. It's great.
That seriously, like, I got goosebumps. It gives me like the warm fuzzies. I love that. Like, I don't know, because you're my people. That's just, I love how all of that has come together for you. And you're absolutely right. Like, that's the perfect fit. And I love that you're doing them. Every time I hear from anybody who has gone to one or taught at one, they have nothing but wonderful things to say. So it's, I mean, I had no doubt you'd put together something just that wonderful. And so congratulations with the success of that.
Oh, thank you. They're a lot of fun.
Okay. So you briefly mentioned your software, your knitting software. Let's talk about Custom Fit. And because people they might have seen it before and they're like, I don't know what this is all about. And then they're going to put 2 and 2 together that, oh, Amy, Custom Fit, I get it now. So tell them a little bit about Custom Fit.
Yeah, because it's kind of a weird thing. I think it's, so I taught, after I started designing, I started teaching. And it was really that experience of going into classrooms weekend after weekend. And, after you help a couple thousand people figure out what they need to do fit-wise, if you have a computer science-y sort of brain, you start to see patterns there of how clothing works on the non-missed average shapes and sizes.
Yeah, total matrix.
Right. Everyone has their thing. And so once you help enough people, it really starts to sort of bubble up to the surface, how you would write something that could take someone's measurements in and take their gauge in and write a knitting pattern for them. Because I don't know if you've had this experience, but I definitely have, where as a sweater knitting teacher, I get 2 kinds of questions. This pattern isn't written for someone who's shaped or sized like me. I'm not like Miss Average. What do I do? And this pattern is written for a gauge that I cannot get for the life of me. I've tried knitting upside down. I've tried having a bottle of wine first. Like, it's not getting there. And I thought to myself, like, computers are really good at numbers. Why can't we have a computer write a pattern to fit a knitter instead of the knitter having to match the pattern all the time? Brilliant. So that's what Custom Fit does. It takes in body measurements and gauges and writes sweater patterns for the individual.
I love it. So here so how does it work? Do they go to a website? Do they have to sign up? Tell them how it works. They're all going to ask me, so I'd rather you tell them than having me explain it.
Yes. There is a link to it from my website, amyherzogdesigns.com, because I also had the same branding advice, like everything named after your name. So you can get to it from the link, but here's how it works. So it's a website. It works on whatever platform you like, mobile phones and iPads and computers, whatever, any browser. You sign up for an account, which is free, and that lets you store body measurement sets and gauges. Once you've got a body measurement set and a gauge, there are, a few dozen designs now, I guess, at least, built into the site. You click on one of them, you select the body measurements, you select the swatch, and you choose a fit, close, average, relaxed, or oversized. I can talk about that in a minute. And then you click Get This Pattern, and you can adjust any of the measurements that you want in the pattern before you pay for it, but basically at that point you have the choice of adjusting the pattern and then purchasing it. And that's the high 10,000 foot level. I've tried to make it really simple, and there are all different kinds of patterns. There are patterns with waist shaping, there are A-line patterns, there are patterns that are completely straight from cast on to bust if you want to do a really complicated stitch pattern work or something like that. Those are really good because the shaping doesn't sort of interfere with them.
I love
and the fits are so close is a statement that you are going to wear this as your shirt and you are okay with your clothing touching you. That's how I describe close fit. Like, this is my shirt, and I'm all right with that being snug, especially through the shoulders.
That's
Average
awesome.
fit is I'm going to wear a button-down shirt under this. Relaxed is I want a little more room to move, but I'd still like it to look tailored. And oversized is this is my football Sunday shirt. I'm going to curl up on the couch, sort of. That's how I relate to them anyway.
Yeah.
And then Custom Fit takes care of all of the eases at the different parts of your body. It has a pretty complicated engine behind it that will do the right thing for you.
I love it. I think it's brilliant. So people are asking online, can they put in their own patterns or create their own patterns through your website? Or do they have to use one of the ones that you have in there as kind of like the stock patterns?
The easiest way to use it the first time is to choose one of the patterns that are already built in.
Okay.
But there is this little make your own here. I can put a link to it in the chat so that people can get a sense of the choices. I think you should be able to see this page even not logged in. I think.
Perfect.
So you can build your own where there's a bunch of little menu choices. Okay, you get to choose what silhouette it is. You get to choose if it's a cardigan or pullover, if it's sleeved or if it's a vest, what shape neckline, what width neckline, what shape sleeve, what length sleeve, all these different choices. And with that, you can often get pretty close to whatever sweater's floating around in your head.
Perfect.
Yeah, does that make sense?
No, that totally makes sense. And then obviously we have crocheters that listen to the show too, and they're wondering, can they use it for crochet? Is it only knitting?
I am not a skilled enough crocheter to be able to step you through the process. The instructions are only knitting, but you would certainly get a detailed schematic of, like, this is what the piece is shaped like, and here's what it measures in all the dimensions.
Right.
So
I can help out with that answer. I think the hardest part with that is, guys, with knitting, you have knits and purls, and all the stitches are based on those two stitches. And so everything's pretty relative. But when you start dealing with crochet, you're dealing with full stitch patterns. And so, stitch pattern repeats. So one stitch, it's like let's take in like a shell stitch. You could have 7 double crochets into that one stitch. And you can't just say, okay, I need 50 double crochets. It would have to be, I need how many double crochets, but they're all in these shells. So it's how many shells do I need, not double crochets. Does that make sense? So it's a little bit more involved when you start doing sweater design for crochet. It's a lot different unless you're going to just use single crochets or half doubles or doubles or whatever it may be. But when you start dealing with stitch patterns, it's a lot more complicated. So it's possible. I mean, I did a whole craftsy class on it. You can absolutely do it. It just takes a little bit more time. It's actually, in my opinion, and I do both, it's harder to write a crochet pattern than a knitting pattern when it comes to sweaters because you're dealing with different aspects. You have to deal with you're dealing with smaller numbers, but you're dealing with bigger stitches. Does that make sense? Like it's just more complicated.
Yeah. Well, and the construction of it is a lot more structural or sculptural, right?
Yes.
So it's much less like knitting is a grid.
Right. Well, and then like you could say
crochet's really not.
Right. You
or
could
not
say,
necessarily.
I get what you mean, but you could say knit two together for knitting and, you'll gradually start getting decreases. Whereas if you need to do shaping on, let's go back to the shell stitch, it might be, okay, I'm going to eliminate two double crochets this time, but the next time I have to eliminate maybe 4 to make the shaping work. Like it's a lot more, I've been using the term artsy fartsy lately, but it's a lot more like subjective. Like you have to do a lot of different things. So it's just a little bit crazy. So I would say probably not. If you're looking for crochets, how to make a sweater, I would totally take the curvy crochet class. But for knitting wise, I think your program is spot on. I think that's the best answer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think the closest you could get, based on hearing what you're saying, I think the closest you could get is just looking at the dimensions of the pieces, right? Like, here's what Custom Fit's saying clothing needs to measure to fit you. But then you'd have to translate it to whatever stitch pattern you are.
You'd have to figure, okay, so this means this many stitch repeats will equal this measurement. So if I need how many of those to equal this measurement and blah, blah, blah. So on and so forth. So
exactly.
Very cool. Well, I can tell you right now that everybody online that's listening right now, they're just like, this is amazing. This is so cool. So I'm glad we were able to go into that a little bit. So obviously we have established the fact that you know what you're doing, especially when it comes to sweater design, sweater knitting, and all of that good stuff. So here we are. You decide, okay, it's time to write another book, and you put a spectacular book out there again. You Can Knit That. And I love the title. I think that's perfect. You Can Knit That. So talk to me about this book. It's absolutely beautiful designs, beautiful layout, beautiful everything. I love your books. They're just fantastic. So take it away, girlfriend.
Thank you. So it's kind of funny. I feel like I've sort of done this backwards a little bit. That I started with this super complicated, fit you everywhere, set-in sleeve construction, tailored garment advice. And then, after my first couple of books were out and Custom Fit was out for a while, I was really starting to get questions in classes and online like, well, but what if drop shoulder patterns are everywhere right now. Do I make those as small as I make my set-in sleeve patterns? Or I really like a raglan and you don't really do those. But I like the way yours fit me, so how do I do that? So I was getting these questions that made me realize that we maybe had a hole in our knitting literature where there weren't that many, like ground level sweater 101 kinds of resources, that there were lots of super specific sweater books and topics.
Right.
But maybe not much in the realm of, okay, I'm a prospective sweater knitter, I'm nervous about it, where do I get started? And that's what You Can Knit That is. It takes you from step one, like, here are all the different ways we can make sweaters out of knitting. Here are the different ways you can attach sleeves to the body. For each of those, here's what you got to know. Here's how to fit it to you, or here's how to choose a size correctly, because there's really not a lot of fit math in the book. But here's how to get started with that size. Here are the materials you should make this kind of garment out of. Here are the points of this construction that are going to restrict your movements. You really want to make sure you have enough room there. Here's how you add stitch patterns to things. Here's how you read a sweater pattern and what bits you can change and what bits you can't. I just really feel like it's, I feel like my two books went really, really, really deep into the tailored, fitted clothing realm. And this just bumps it back up to that 10,000-foot view and talks about the question, how do I get started making clothes that I really like to wear?
You know what makes me think of is it's like, you know, when you were talking about your grandma and your family, and it was you learned about sewing and about fit and about all of that. It's almost as if you took that information and put it in a way that you can present it to more people. Does that make sense? So it's like,
yeah, that's really what I tried to do. Exactly.
You've gathered all of this knowledge that you had prior, and, you know, you jumped in the deep end and did all this really great stuff. And like you said, you wrote these books about it and they're amazing. But then you took the step back and said, okay, not everybody has the basis that I had with my family's information. So I'm going to take all of that plus the stuff I've learned along the way and present it to you so you can make it now. Like it's really kind of come full circle.
That's right. That's right. You know, both because of the education that I got growing up and because of the fact that, you know, whatever, in the last 15 years, I've probably knit 300 sweaters or something ridiculous like that. Like, anytime you do something that much, you learn about it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so this book was really like, hey, here's what I've learned about drop shoulders. They're not always really horrible.
Right.
You don't have to feel like you're walking around with a towel under your armpit. Like, here's how to prevent that. You said you learned knitting in the late 90s. Like, all of the drop shoulder sweaters I knit in the 1980s, they felt like literally you rolled up a towel and stuck it under your arm.
I don't need any extra help up in that area for sure. So that's hilarious. That's hilarious. I love it. You know what I love the most, Amy, is I feel like the way you present your information is so easy to grasp. And I think, you know, everybody has a teacher that they gravitate towards. You know, I am good for some people, but some people don't like the way I teach. They just, you know, for whatever reason. And I think, I mean, that's just human nature. Some coaches can get the more out of the kid than another coach. And it's just the way we teach and process. But there's something about the way you teach and present things that really speaks to me. And I love the way you do it. I think you do such a really good job with it. And I'm saying that to give you major kudos because of how smart you are and how mathematical you tend to think and stuff, you really present it in a way to somebody who is not very good at math. Like, I get it. Like, you do a really good job with that.
Yay!
Yeah,
I'm so glad to hear it. Thank you. That is like the best compliment anyone could ever pay me.
Yeah, it's seriously, it's fantastic. And so much so that if you were to do a book where it was like one step beyond this, so not the knit to flatter book, but like, you know, maybe even like a designer book of, hey, you know how to knit a sweater, but let me show you how to do these numbers, how these numbers work, blah, blah, blah sort of thing. I would buy it. Just saying. I would buy it in an instant.
You are so funny. You guys, this was not, we have never talked about this before, but that's totally the book that I'm writing.
Are you serious? Oh my gosh, seriously? Yeah. That is so cool. Oh, that makes me so happy. Seriously, goosebumps, guys. I have major goosebumps. Oh, that makes me so happy. Oh my gosh, that is so, like, I'm super geeked out. That makes me so happy.
That's hysterical. I swear we did not set this up.
No. But that's great because, I mean, so even as a established designer that I am, I told you, I struggle. And, but there are other people out there who want to know how to do this. And I think that the way you teach, I'm totally going to get it. Like, I will understand it. It will make more sense to me. And I love that. Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy to know that.
You can do it.
I know, you can do it. You can knit that. So what has the response been so far for the book? I mean, it's beautifully laid out. The instructions are perfect. The designs are amazing. I'm guessing everybody loves it just as much as I do.
Yeah, it's getting really nice reviews, which is great. And it's felt really, really nice to bring the samples to classes as well, because they're also getting a lot of love. You know, so when I teach, I travel with this giant suitcase, this 50-pound suitcase full of sweaters for people in the classes to try on, because, you know, when do you ever get that experience?
Right.
And so these sweaters have been traveling with me since January, I think was the first show that I brought them to. And they're getting so much love. You know, it's really great to see people put on, you know, the blaze cardigan, I think I called it. It's one of the designs in the book that's knit in one piece. So it's worked from the one cuff sideways to the other.
Yeah.
And it's a really easy style. The yarn is luscious. It's like a nice, it's regular sized person sized sample so everyone can try it on. And it's wonderful to watch people put that on and snuggle up in it and feel really good in it, and then realize how simple it is to make and that they can really, really do that. So I've really enjoyed the response that people have shared, that they feel really empowered and like this is really accessible.
I love that.
It's great.
I love that. I think that's so smart that you do that. I try and bring sweaters to the curvy knits classes that I teach because it's so rare that as, you know, plus size women, we get to try on things that actually fit us. And I mean, you know this, it's something about watching somebody put something on that they feel good about it. And the piece just looks better when you feel good in it and because you present that to the world. And I mean, you could think it's the ugliest thing in the world just laying there and you put it on, it feels good. You feel like you look good, and you're going to project that out to people. And as the designer, it makes you feel good to see people wear something that you design that makes them feel good, right?
Oh, it's the best. It's the best.
It is. I totally agree. I love it. I love it so much. All these designs are so beautiful. I will make sure that Tammy puts a link to the book from Amazon. You guys can check it out at your local yarn store. And then we'll put a link also to all the designs that are on Ravelry. You've got to go check out Amy's Ravelry page, guys. There's over 209 designs in there. And like if you scroll, they're almost all sweaters.
Is that true?
Yeah, 209.
Is that real?
Yeah, for real. And so, it's cool.
We may have to revisit your use of that obsessed word.
Yeah, I know, right? It just a little bit. Just a little bit. It's just, I don't know, you do such a good job. So we've talked about the book. It's a wonderful book. It's available out there right now. We'll put links out. But as always here on the Yarn Thing podcast, you, the listeners, have a chance to win something here on the podcast, and it's a copy of the book. Yay!
Yay!
Yay! So we are so blessed here on the Yarn Thing podcast to have guests that come on the show that offer prizes to you, the listeners. So if you are listening live, you want to pick up your phone right now and give me a call. You're going to be put in the switchboard, and the guest call-in number is 347-539-5589. 347-539-5589. 5589. Pick up your phone, give me a call. You'll be placed on the switchboard and just hang out there because we will randomly select a call-in listener here live on the show to win a copy of Amy's brand new book. If you're not listening live, that is okay because you still have a chance to win as well. We always get 2 prizes on the show. We get one to give away to a call-in listener and one to give away to somebody who leaves a comment. And the comment has to be left on the show notes, which are only available at marleybird.com. So let me walk you through this. You're not listening live. You're catching the show after the fact, maybe an hour later, 2 days later, 2 weeks later. There's still a chance for you to win. Tammy, my social media Medusa, she puts the show notes up over at marleybird.com after the podcast. Give her about 24 hours. She does put up like a brief, like, hey, this is where the show notes are going to be right now. So those of you who are listening who want to go over there right now, you can totally go and find them. But Tammy does a brief synopsis of everything we talked about in the show, including links and images, and everything you need will be right there in the show notes. When you go over there, you can find everything you need. At the bottom of the page, you'll see a hyperlink that says leave a reply. You click on that and you will leave your comment there that includes a keyword that Amy will give us here in just a minute. Once you've done that, that's your entry ticket. That's your chance to win, okay? We choose a winner about 2 to 3 weeks after the original air date. The reason we do that is because we know life gets in the way and sometimes you can't listen to the show right away and we still want you to have a chance to win. So as long as you leave your comment before we choose the winner, you're entered for a chance to win. Now, I want to reiterate this one more time. Your comment has to be left on the show notes at marleybird.com. If your comment is left on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Ravelry, those will not be able to be counted in for a chance to win. The reason is, you're going to notice here in a minute, Tammy goes to where all the comments are left on those show notes, and she scrolls through those comments to randomly choose a winner. So we can't go from one place to another place to pick comments. You have to leave them on the show notes, which are available at marleybird.com. Click on the drop-down menu for podcast or the blog, and you'll find show notes, and you just find the show notes for today's show. Leave your comment that includes a keyword, And there you have it. Okay, guys? Hopefully that makes a lot of sense. So what I'm going to do now is I'm bringing Tammy on the line, and she's going to have Amy help her choose a winner from a podcast that was 2 or 3 weeks ago. And then Amy will give you a keyword for today's show, and then we will pick a live call-in listener. So Tammy, you're on the air. Are you there?
I'm here.
All right, I'm going to mute myself.
I hope you can. Okay, I hope you can hear me. Hi, Amy.
Here, Tammy.
Hi.
I have always loved your stuff. I have been wanting to knit that February lady sweater, the fitted one, since, I don't know, probably when I discovered Ravelry.
Oh, thank you.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to when we had Dora Orenstein on the program, and she shared her top-down crochet sweaters book, which,
yeah, that's a great book.
I'm sure that everybody's going to want to apply those patterns to your program too. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll through here. I have a list of all the comments, and I'm going to scroll through here, just roll through it, and without really looking. I can't when it's going so fast. And where my cursor is, I will have you tell me where to stop, and that will be the winner that I'll be emailing. So I'm scrolling. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. How about stop?
Okay. This was another Amy. She said, I love Dora's books. They're always packed with information. She's the queen of sweaters that fit and have good drape, which was a big topic of conversation with us. Is sometimes our crocheting is too tight because we want it to be as neat as possible. But
right.
If you don't loosen up the crocheting, it's not going to drape like it needs to fit. So that was really a wonderful conversation that we had with Dora a couple of weeks ago. Did you have a secret spy code or word that people should be using in your comments?
I wondered if it could be a phrase.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, phrases work perfectly.
So let's use I can knit that.
I can knit that. That's true. Everybody can. And
I love that.
Certainly with your new book, that's going to be awesome.
I love that. I can knit that. That's perfect because somebody could just write, blah, blah, blah. I can knit that. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, share the design that excites you. If people are looking at the different designs in the book, tell us which one is most like the clothes that you wear every day.
Yeah, perfect. Tammy, thank you for your help, my friend.
You're welcome. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
You too.
All right, I'm going to mute Tammy. So much fun. So there you go. So obviously you guys can kind of see how that works out 2 to 3 weeks after today's podcast. Whoever the guest is, we will have them help us choose a winner from today's show. And, that comment will be that commenter will win a copy of this book. All right, guys? So it's that easy. So even if you are listening live and trying to win the book live on air here in just a second, you can still leave a comment and have a chance to win the book later on. If you don't want to wait and you want to get the book now, please go do that. Go buy the book. You don't have to win it, or maybe you win it, you can give it to a friend. Go buy the book. You're going to love it. Okay, Amy, we have 42 callers on the switchboard. So I don't know what's going on. I know. Lately, we have had over 40 callers for the last 2 to 3 weeks. It's amazing. That's
great.
I know. So I'm going to scroll up and down, and I want to remind everybody that even if you've won before, it's okay. You can call in and still have a chance to win, because we like everybody to have a chance to win. It really doesn't matter. If you've won before, more the merrier. So I'm scrolling. You tell me when to stop. That'll be the lucky winner.
Okay, let's go now.
All right, hands up. It stopped on 707. Let me click on this. 707 is the area code. Hello?
Hello?
Hi, who is this?
This is Abigail.
Hi, Abigail. Where are you
Hello,
calling us
Abigail.
from?
Hey, I'm so surprised. This is the first time I've ever called in.
Oh, really? Fantastic.
Yes. Yeah, I'm
Congratulations.
excited, and I know it says 707, but I live in Fort Collins.
Oh, you do? So you're local to me.
Yes, I am. I was like, I wonder where she is. So it was fun.
That's so cool. So Abigail from Fort Collins, congratulations. Say hi to Amy Herzog.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Abigail.
I'm excited to read your book.
I'm excited to send it to you.
Abigail, are you an avid sweater knitter?
I haven't done too many, so I'm kind of curious. It's off and on, so I'm curious of kind of refining. I don't know, an understanding technique, whatever.
That's awesome.
I need to. Yeah.
What's your favorite one that you've done so far?
My favorite one, I did a Colorworks frog.
Nice.
One. Don't remember the book, but it didn't have any sleeves, so I think that was the easiest.
Hey, there's a chapter on vests. They're great sweaters. No diss in the sleeveless.
I love that.
No, it was a lot easier.
Very cool. Well, Abigail, it looks like this book is going to be a perfect fit for you to help you out with your sweater knitting adventure. And then I want to remind you also, you can check out the custom fit website and go through that also if you feel like you want to tweak things and really have it fit you a little bit more. And I know in Fort Collins, you have several different yarn shops up there that could be a big help. Like I know Loopy U and My Sister Knits and Lamb Spun. You can go there and get help. For sure. Like they're wonderful shops. So you are all set.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well,
yeah, they're fun.
Abigail, congratulations. To get your prize, what I need you to do is email me, marley@marleybird.com. Make sure you send me your phone number and mailing address. And in the subject line, tell me what it is you won, because I get lots of emails and it will get lost if you don't tell me. So make sure you do that, okay?
Okay.
Awesome. Congratulations. Right. And hopefully I'll run into you sometime.
Yeah, that would be fun.
All right. Bye-bye, Abigail.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
I sort of said Babigail. I didn't mean to. Because it was like I was trying to say bye-bye, Babigail. Anyways, sorry. It's the day. So cool. So congratulations to Abigail. She was the call-in listener who won the book. And don't forget, you can still win a book. You have to leave your comment on marleybird.com on the show notes for today's show. And as far as I know, there is a small show notes up there right now that will have all of the information added to them later on in the day, but you can go over there right now. Make sure in your comment you leave the phrase, I can knit that. Take a look at the book on Ravelry and stuff if you don't have it in front of you, and pick one out. Why not? Go check it out. Amy, I love talking to you. I so wish that I lived closer and we could be a part of like a Stitch and Bitch together, because you're just amazing. You're just so much fun. I love everything you do, and I'm super excited about the design book. I've already told... one of my friends.
Get over that.
That is so crazy. It's because, great minds think alike. And that's the natural progression. That's the next book that needs to be from you. And it will be as equally amazing as you are. And thank you for everything that you do. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for letting me come and chat again.
Oh, totally, totally. You're welcome back anytime you want, my friend. I'm going to let you go and go have a little bit of lunch if you get a chance to.
Yeah, will do.
All right, so I'll talk to you later, Amy. Bye, hun.
Thanks, Marley. Bye-bye.
Oh, I just totally love her. She is so much fun, you guys. She is just super talented, wicked smart, amazing. She's just amazing at what she does. It's really great for me to see people who come into this industry and you can just see like, this is where they were supposed to be. This is their fit. And as she said, she's super smart. She was working on software security and stuff, computer security. And, to think about all of those math skills that really, helped her out and honed her into what she does now. It just goes to show that you never know what path you're going to be walking on in life. And it might be leading up to this great adventure that you never thought you'd be doing. I mean, I never thought I would be doing a podcast. I never thought I'd be doing a YouTube channel. I never thought I'd be designing, knitting, and crochet. I just really loved it all. So you just never know. You never know. Go check out Custom Fit, amyherzog.com. Just about anywhere you go. Just as she said, Amy Herzog is where you can find it because it's smart marketing to put Amy Herzog all over the place. So there you have it, you guys. That's today's show. And I'm going to say thank you to our sponsors and let you on with your day. Let's hit our exit music. I love this music. It just makes me happy. It's actually called Happy Vibes. Thank you to Green Mountain Spinnery, Buffalo Wool Company, Creative Bug, Erin Lane Bags, Lolo by Barmaids, Craftsy.com, Knitters Magazine, XRX Books and Stitches Expos, and last but certainly not least, Red Heart Yarns, where I'm the proud national spokesperson. I'll see you guys on Thursday. Take care. for more Marley Bird? Don't worry, I've got you covered. Click right down there and you will find more videos just like this teaching you how to knit or crochet, all brought to you by Red Heart Yarns. Go ahead, click away. Don't be shy. Don't forget to smash that like button.